It appears that the feud between UFC middleweight champion Dricus Du Plessis and Brendan Allen lives on. I'll talk about that in a sec, along with Brendan Allen's future in the middleweight division. My name is James Lynch. So Brendan Allen obviously coming up short on Saturday against Anthony Hernandez. Like I said, I'll talk a little bit later about his future and where he can go from here. But Allen posting this saying, just ain't the guy I thought I was. Hats off to Anthony Hernandez. That's his Twitter handle, or Instagram handle, I should say. Love that guy through the crap this sport brings. Who knows what's next? Thanks to my team and those who stuck with me. So I'm sort of reading this post as Brendan's a little bit, uncertain what the future is going to hold, because this was a key fight here, right? Like, had he beat Hernandez, he'd be right back in the contender spot, but that's now 2 straight losses to Nasruddin Imavov and Anthony Hernandez. And again, a tough setback here for Allen, who was chasing a championship. Now, for those who don't know, there's been this feud between Brendan Allen and Dricus Du Plessis going on for a long time. Of course, Dricus trained a little bit at Kill Cliff. I don't remember if these two actually trained together before, but there's definitely been some bad blood. And I know in multiple interviews, Brendan has been talking about Du Plessis and his latest, media scrum that he had, or the media day that he had at UFC Seattle. I got the video here. He was asked about Dricus Du Plessis and basically said that he feels that Du Plessis has not had any good quality wins. I'm kind of summarizing here, but he basically mentioned that he's like, look, he gets Israel Adesanya when he's coming off a loss or two. He's getting, who else did he fight? Sean Strickland, who's not like a great opponent, like all these different things, right? And so Allen was sort of, trying to justify that Du Plessis has had sort of an easier road as a champion than other people, and that the timing has really benefited, the champion in that regard, which, by the way, I don't agree with. Sean Strickland was, the rightful contender at the time. He beat him twice. Adesanya had never been submitted before. Du Plessis did that. Like, I could see if he just edged out a slight decision there. And if you read the comments on this video and a lot of the other comments on some of the clips that came out of this presser, a lot of people are on the side of Dricus Du Plessis, feeling like, come on, man, like, you haven't even fought for a title yet, and you're saying that, Dricus is not like a worthy champion. I mean, had Brendan won this fight, then this would add a bit more, but he doesn't end up winning the fight. So this is what happened. So anyways, Brendan puts his post up, and the reason I bring up this context is because, Du Plessis just didn't come out of nowhere and swoop in and say something to Brendan Allen. I'm going to show you the post here. Brendan kind of started this, right? Because he was talking about the champions. So I know people are going to make fun of me here, but I got MS Paint up. I still use it. It's good. But you have to go through all the comments to find his comment, but we're going to read the comment here. So Du Plessis says, I don't know what's next for either, but I can most certainly tell you what ain't next in a very long time. Gets 610 likes. And Du Plessis obviously implying that Allen is not going to be fighting for the middleweight title anytime soon. Then here's where Allen kind of loses me here a little bit, okay? Because, again, he doesn't have a lot of leverage right now. He's coming off 2 straight losses. So he replies back, and he doubles down on his comment earlier from Media Day saying, always talk when I drop a decision. When I'm winning, you're silent. We can't all get the guys on the way out. So again, he's doubling down on this whole, like, the timing thing, and Allen is convinced that Du Plessis was avoiding him and didn't want to fight him and all that different stuff. And again, there's a lot of circumstances as to why certain fights don't happen. I don't think Du Plessis strikes me as a guy that's like afraid to fight anyone. So I don't know. My take on this is it's just like Brendan should either just ignore it or just say, you know what? Just wait. Like it would have even been better if Allen had just come out and said, just wait, I'm going to go back to the gym and I'm going to get even better and we will meet one day. That would have been a better comment, but he's doubling down on Du Plessis not being a legit champion to some degree with the wins that he's had when Allen's coming off 2 straight losses. Like, I think this is just a bad look for Brendan Allen here doing this, right? And listen, I'm not like anti-Brendan Allen by any means. If you look on this channel, I have interviews with Brendan Allen dating back to when he was an LFA, and I've interviewed him for a very long time. And, I like Brendan. I think he's great. I think he's very talented, actually. And I'm going to, again, talk about his future here in a little bit, but I just think handling the loss this way is never a good look. Like, going at, and again, I know Du Plessis is the one that commented on his post. So again, Brendan Allen, felt the need to respond, but I think the better response here would have been like, look, we're going to meet one day and it's not going to go well for you. That would have been better. But like right now, still doubling down on that he's not a good champion when Du Plessis is actually the champion and Allen's never fought for the title, I just think is a bad look here for Brendan Allen. So I think he's got to stop worrying about stuff like this. He could have just ignored this comment too. Like, again, I think Du Plessis was in his right to, kick a guy while he's down because Allen was the one who talked before this fight. So I think that's totally fair game, but I think Brendan Allen should just sort of ignore this stuff. Now, let's talk about Brendan Allen's future in the division. Again, the fight he had with Anthony Hernandez, you look at it there, Hernandez, the significant strikes were very good, but Allen did get his back a few times. I think there was a few times in this fight where Allen, for whatever reason, didn't capitalize on certain moments. And then we add in the fact that Hernandez revealing after the fight he had an illness. He was on antibiotics. That's why he had the tough weight cut. If you remember, he was the last fighter to weigh in for UFC Seattle. And then on top of that, Anthony Hernandez apparently had hurt ribs. And look, I know not every fighter is going to be 100%, but I think we can all agree that Anthony Hernandez looked a lot better in the Michelle Pereira Oliveira fight than he did look in this fight. And that's not to take away anything that Brendan Allen did in this fight, because again, Allen had some success, but I think Allen had an opportunity to take advantage in this fight and he wasn't able to do it. And this again is another key fight for Allen. If he wants to show he's a contender, you have to win fights like this. So I felt like Allen left a little bit on the table, but here's the problem right now with Brendan Allen. So that post he has there, he kind of seems at a loss for words. You know, I had someone in my Discord last night mention maybe it's time for a camp switch for Brendan Allen. He's 29 years old. I want to say he's been at Kill Cliff for like maybe 3 or 4 years now. Cause if you remember, he was at Rufus Sport before that. And then his original gym was in Louisiana. I can't remember the name of it, but so, you know, he's done sort of the gym switch already here. I think he's at a good team. I think Brendan's issue, and again, this is just coming from a guy behind a computer screen, I think it's kind of mental. Like, I think there's times where he doesn't make the right decision. I think his corner's telling him to do one thing, he's doing the other. I think that's sort of what's holding Allen back. Because again, I want to be very clear about this so people don't think I'm crapping on Allen. I'm not at all. I didn't like what Allen said to DDP, but I think Allen's a hell of a fighter. I think he's very talented. I think he adds a lot to the weight class. I mean, you look at it there, 14 wins by submission. He's got one of the best ground games in the weight class. He's finished a lot of good opponents, but I think what's holding him back from getting to that title shot or the championship spot is his mental game. Now, look, I don't know what's next for him as far as a fight. I don't know if he needs to switch things up. But you know, I think certainly it depends really what the UFC thinks of him. If they think Brendan is someone that can still make a run to the title, then he'll probably get an easier opponent in his next outing. But like, I don't know how he does right now. Like, does he beat Marvin Vettori, which is a fight that everyone wants to see? Does he beat a Jack Hermanson or someone like that? I would think he could, but that's what we're going to find out. Because again, I feel like Allen's kind of one of these guys that's stuck in the middle. Even the Chris Curtis win, that wasn't the most impressive victory over a guy in Chris Curtis who isn't even ranked right now. Paul Craig, yeah, nice finish there. Bruno Silva, nice finish there. But I think the last couple fights, if we want to even count Curtis, not his best performance. So I think Brendan Allen, I don't know, like I think for him to be successful, I think he's got to work on the fight IQ a little bit. I think talent-wise he's there, and I think I don't know if that's a sports psychologist thing or whatever, or maybe he is working with one. I'm not sure. I don't know all the details of what Allen's doing. I think there is still some potential because he is only 29, but we're kind of getting to that age too, where he's kind of in the prime of his career. And I don't know if he's going to be able to turn it around. And it's not like, I mean, I guess he could go to light heavyweight if that's another option. He is, 6'2" with a 75-inch reach, but I think he'd be a little undersized for that. So I don't know. Allen's in a tough spot because, like I said, I think he can beat most of the fighters in the division that are outside of that top 5. I think in the top 10, there's wins for him there, and I think we've seen that. But I think when you get a little bit higher with some of the opponent, well, I guess technically Hernandez was outside the top 10, so maybe not. But I don't know. Looking at the division now, like, are there winnable fights for him? I do think there's winnable fights for him, but I think it's really uncertain where he goes from here. And I think, like, again, like, I don't think a camp switch is the issue. I think the issue is, I think a sports psychologist or someone to just give him a different mentality, stay off social media, stay off talking trash. Like, the talking trash thing only works if you're winning. And, he's coming off the loss to Imavov, which, had some success early in that fight, but Imavov took over. I just wonder where he's going to go from here. And I think the way he goes from here is working with a sports psychologist and, fighting some easier opposition. Like, I think he could probably beat a Michel Pereira or Kopylov, maybe even a Bo Nickel. But there's some work to do for sure on Brendan Allen. So that's kind of where I stand. But I think the future is a bit muddled right now in terms of what Brendan Allen wants to do. And I brought this up in my Discord chat as well. I'd have to go find the interview, but I believe it was the first loss he had to Hernandez back in LFA. He kind of semi-retired back then. There was a point when Brendan was on the come up, I think before Contender Series, where he talked about maybe stepping away. So that's kind of why I'm leaning towards more of a mental thing with him than a physical or, talent thing with him. So again, I wish Brendan luck. I hope it works out. But the one area I am going to disagree with him, and you let me know in the comments if you agree or not, is this whole thing with DDP. Just leave it alone, man. DDP's the champ. You're not fighting him anytime soon. I know, and again, I know people will be like, well, DDP started it. Again, Allen was the one who talked about him before the fight. If you're going to talk crap, you got to be able to take it the other way too, right? So that's kind of where I side there. So let me know what you think of Brendan Allen's comments on DDP. Also, let me know what you think the future holds for Brendan Allen. Do you see him succeeding? Do you think he can turn it around? Let me know. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.